Okay, welcome back everyone. It's been a while since I made another video, but this one is going to be making your first magic ability, or any kind of ability, but we're going to focus on our mage. So, what we're going to do is first we need to go into variables. I made a few more variables because I want to have up to 6x y combinations. I went into ID variables. I made another 6 in here. And the way I'm going to make this work is that you will have a certain number of uses of your abilities each battle. So the way I'm going to do that is I like to go into number 5 and I'm going to create some more variables. I like to do 1-1. And we're going to create a bunch of these. 1-2, 1-3. We're going to do this for 6 characters. 1-4, 1-5. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2-1, 2-2, because we have 6 starting characters. 2-3, 2-4, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 4-1, and we're just going to go all the way up to 6-4. So 2, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a few more. 5-1. So what each of these are going to do is they are going to represent the number of charges we have left in each individual battle. So if we start your battle, so the ability we're going to make is called Icicle. It is a single target ability, and it's going to do whatever your magic stat is minus whatever their resistance stat is times 175%. So it's going to do an extra 75% damage more than your standard attack. 5-4. 1. I know it could be a little bit boring seeing me do all this, but I'd like you to see the process. And it's not always... I like to build for the future. It's just the way I am. And it makes things a lot easier. Okay, so we got 6-4. Now, let me just check my other game, make sure. I think I want to have a count. I'm just going to my other variables in my other game. So we got all those. And then we got count. Is there any more? Nope, just count. Okay. Go back to this tutorial. We're going to copy them. We're going to select all these. So click on the top one, hold shift, click on the bottom, Control C, go to the bottom here, and then Control V. I'm just going to add count to all these. This should be easier because I can just copy and paste. Let me also highlight the space. Okay. All these can default to 0. That's fine. So we have our minimum value being 0, maximum value 9999, and default value is 0. Okay. So, at the beginning of each map, I have an auto event. So I'm going to hit new. And this is going to be set abilities. This is going to set our variables at the beginning of each map. And the trigger, or the thing that is going, when it is going to happen, is going to be at the beginning on the player's first turn. Okay? So the person we're going to be doing this for is going to be our second character. Let me see. I'll just hit enter. So this is for our mage. We're going to consider this unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even though the unit IDs don't match up, they're off by 1. But we're going to make Icicle for our mage. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is set abilities. And we're going to change variables. And we're going to set, she's the second unit, and this is going to be her first ability. So 2, 1, we are going to set to whatever the variable 2, 1 count is. So 2, 1 count is going to be the variable that holds how many uses she has per battle. So if she levels up in a battle and gains an ability, that is also going to set that ability's count, such as 2, 1, to 1. So she will have 1 use of that ability when she levels up. Okay. Just at the end of each event, I like to either say if it's executed. In this case, I'm going to say it's executed, not free. Okay, so that's our first ability. Or that's going to set the count to our first ability. Now, how many charges is this ability going to have? We will set it to 1, and we will do that on our first map. So since this is the starting map, we are going to make a new one, and rename it set starting abilities. Now we're going to put that before set abilities. So in this case, I'm going to go, this might be a little bit confusing, but we'll go through it in a second. So we're going to set 2, 1 count to a constant and say 1. Okay, so now what happens? Player's first turn, we're going to set 2, 1 to be equal to 1. So Icicle is going to have 1 use per map. But right now that the actual variable 2, 1 is still set to 0. So now the next thing on the beginning of the map is going to be set the Icicle charges to whatever the actual charges that are stored for that. Sorry if I'm not saying that the best, but at the beginning of the game, we set Icicle to have the count to be set to 1. We could have set it to 3, so she'll have 3 charges. Actually, that's what we'll do. We'll set it to have 3 charges. So then, when the map actually begins, we're going to set the charges equal to 3. You can use Icicle 3 times. Now, let's actually make the ability. How do we make the ability for our player character? Well, we go into Database, and then we select the mage, and we go to Unit Events right here. So now for our mage, we have that selected instead of any of the other characters. We're going to create new. So right click, and then new, and we're going to create a command called Icicle. You can add a message here. I don't like it though. You could put conditions on it. So for example, we can go that unit mage is alive, so she has to be alive, and her level will set, it has to be 1 or more, so basically just the starting level. But you could change that to level 3, and then this will not show up until level 3. Okay, so that will be my requirements for this showing up. Now I want to set variables. X1 is going to be set to, we're going to go to a specific unit. It's going to be our mage. We're going to say we're going to store X1 as whatever our mage's X currently is. We'll do the same thing for Y. So Y1 is set to the mage's Y coordinate. And then I also like to do Unit ID 1. We're going to say is whatever the mage's Unit ID 1 is. Oh, sorry. Whatever the mage's Unit ID is. Right there. X, Y, and Unit ID. Okay? Now, I generally have an X2, Y2, and Unit ID 2, depending on the ability. But for this ability, we want to be able to select an enemy. The way we're going to do that is by right-clicking here, selecting new, and at the top there's event commands or battle commands. We were previously on event, which is where change variables is. But we're going to select the battle tab. Now we're going to extract map position. Okay, it brings up this menu. So now we have to put parameters on what are we allowed to select. Well, since we're the player and we want to cast this on an enemy, we're going to remove player and remove ally. So we can only cast this on enemies. Now, the range that we could select is going to start from, in this case, I'm going to put Unit ID 1, which is also our mage, because we just pulled that from the mage. This unit is also selectable. We don't want to be able to cast Icicle on ourselves, so we're not going to select that. And we're going to specify the range. So 0 means you can only target on the tile this the unit is already on. If we put it as 1, that'll be 1 space away from the unit. If we put it as 2, it'll be 2 spaces, which allows 2 spaces to the right, 2 spaces to the left, or diagonals. So we're going to set this to 2. I'm not going to put any conditions on this because it's already defaulted. Only enemies are able to be selected. Now when we select this unit, we want to store their X, Y, and Unit ID. But we're going to select this as 2. X2, Y2, and Unit ID 2. Okay? Now, the next part gets a little bit tricky, and we'll go back into it a little bit later. But action when canceled. You can make it so you can't cancel out of it, but I like to be able to cancel out of my abilities. And we're going to set the self switch. Let me see what I set it over here. Let me check my other game and see what I wrote it as. I just want to be consistent so I don't confuse myself. So there's Icicle. Where is extract map position? And we set it to B and show unit window. Okay. So we're going to set self switch to B. Show unit window is selected. Okay, so now we will be able to select the other units position and unit ID. I think the next thing I do is I give you choices. So we're going to go up to here, create one more new. We're going to go show choices. So this will be a pop-up menu that allows you multiple choices. So we're going to say cast Icicle. It's going to be our first. And that's going to be self-switch A. So these choices are going to turn a switch on within this event. So when I select cast Icicle, it's going to turn A on. So switch A is on. I'm going to add another choice, which is going to say cancel. And I want to set that to B, because B within this is canceling out of this event. And I'm going to add one more that I like to do, and I like to call this explanation. I'm going to set that to C. So now what happens is Icicle appears on your menu. You click it. It's going to store the mage's position and unit ID. And then it's going to allow you to select on the map within 2 spaces of the mage another unit, but it's limited to only being an enemy. Once it takes that, it stores that enemy's position, and then it asks you, do you want to cast Icicle, do you want to cancel, or do you want an explanation? Okay. Now, let me just see what else I got going on in here. I want to show triggers. Oh, will this not let me show triggers because it's too small? Okay, well, okay, that's fine. A is fine. I see what I did again. Okay, so we have these. We're not going to, right now we're not going to worry about canceling or explaining. We're just going to finish the ability so it can work. So we are going to next go to control map position, and we're going to specify what this does is allows us to play an animation on a space or a unit. In this case, we're going to want to cast it on the unit that we selected, and we're just going to use the default animation of ice, which sort of looks like icicles. Now, we have the animation playing after we made the choice to cast Icicle. Now we need to get all of our information to calculate damage. So we are going to go back to our variables, and I'm going to go to these ones that we made previously. So we're going to set magic to the mage's magic. We're going to do it by selecting unit ID 1 and saying we are going to grab the magic from unit ID 1, and if she has any items that increases her magic, we're going to allow for that by enabling parameter bonus. I'm going to copy and paste that, and now we're going to set resistance. This is what's going to be resisting the magic, to unit ID 2's resistance. Right there. Okay. Now, I want to find what the difference is between these. So if you were to just take it like one of a standard magic attack, if she has 10 magic and they have 5, we will now want to subtract resistance from magic. So magic is now subtracting resistance. So that would give us 5, and that would be our damage. Now, how do we actually do the damage? It's another event under battle. It's called extensive command. This is only going to work on enemies. So that's this filter up here. We don't want to add an animation. In the event command, there's a bunch of different things you can do with this, but we're going to go to reduce HP right here. Now, where is this going to happen? Well, this is going to happen to Unit ID 2. So we're going to start with unit and go Unit ID 2. And now what is the range of this? You can make this an AoE spell, but we just want this to hit the single target. So we're going to specify 0 as only in the location we chose. No additional locations. Okay, so down here, how are we doing the damage? Well, I don't want another animation. I'm going to get rid of that. We already have the icicle part. If I go to original, where's none? I'll just double click original. I guess that chose none for me. Now, how much damage is it going to do? It can do fixed damage, which ignores any kind of magic or defense or resistance or defense. If you want defense to be counted, which we kind of already did that with our variable, so I'm not going to do that. Or if you want it to check the enemy's magic, you just hit magical, and then we wouldn't have had to do that other equation. But I want to be able to modify that damage, so I'm just going to stick with fixed. And the damage we're going to set to the variable that we chose, which was magic. All this might be a bit confusing, but you can slow down the video, you can rewind, and I will do a summary at the end of everything we've done. Okay, this is always going to hit. We're not just doing percentage chance. I don't like that for my spells. And we're going to ignore UI. Or maybe we won't. I think that makes it so the damage doesn't show up when you want it to show up. Okay. Now, I think this is the basic setup for actually getting it to work. So I'm going to hit enter and OK. And let's see if this actually works. So I'm going to start the game. And maybe I missed something, but we'll find out in a second. So there's my mage. We're going to fight. So now I can move my mage. And here's Icicle. She's level 1, so it is showing up. Now with Icicle, now that I clicked it, I have to select an enemy within 2 spaces. So here is the goblin. And now a pop-up came up that has asked me, do I want to cast Icicle, cancel, or get an explanation of the ability. I am going to select Icicle. Now after this, there should be an animation that plays, and then damage should be done. And then the ability should end. So we're going to hit it. It played the animation, and then it did 7 damage. Okay, so 7 is her magic. Now, does the enemy have any resistance? No, it does not. So 7 minus 0 is 7, which is the amount of damage that it did. So that is how to get... That's the basic concept of casting a spell. I feel like this video is running long, so I will do a part 2. And then modify the ability so we can cancel out of it, create an explanation, and so on. I'll be right back.